Dr. Marcus Novak squinted through the eyepiece of the massive telescope, adjusting the focus with practiced precision. Tonight marked the third consecutive evening of unexplained light phenomena in the northeastern quadrant. The university's modest observatory, perched on a hillside miles from the nearest town, provided perfect isolation for his work, and from the wreckage of his recently finalized divorce. A sudden crash from the equipment room startled him. Probably raccoons again. He grabbed his flashlight and headed toward the sound, rehearsing the stern lecture he'd give his graduate assistant about properly securing the doors. The beam of light revealed toppled storage containers and scattered tools, but no wildlife. Then he noticed droplets of luminescent blue liquid trailing across the floor. Definitely not raccoons. "Hello?" Marcus called, following the strange glowing trail. "Is someone there?" A soft whimper emanated from behind a stack of equipment crates. Marcus moved them aside and gasped. Huddled in the corner was a girl, or something like a girl. Her skin had an opalescent quality that seemed to shift between pale blue and violet. Though humanoid in shape, her limbs were too slender, her fingers too long, her eyes too large and entirely black. "Please," the creature whispered in halting English. "Help." Marcus's scientific mind raced through possibilities, elaborate prank, hallucination, dream, but the creature's obvious pain overrode his skepticism. A gash along her arm leaked the same blue substance he'd followed across the floor. "You're injured," he said, kneeling slowly to avoid frightening her. "I can help. Do you understand me?" She nodded weakly. Crash, ship damaged, hunters following. Marcus glanced toward the window. Hunters? Government? Military? His heart hammered against his ribs as he made a split-second decision that would change his life forever. "I'm Marcus," he said softly. "I'm going to help you." He gathered first aid supplies and returned to find her attempting to stand, her movements graceful despite her injury. Up close, her otherworldly beauty was even more apparent, her features delicate yet strong, familiar yet alien. "What should I call you?" Marcus asked as he carefully cleaned the wound. "Talia," she replied, watching him with those endless black eyes. "My true name, difficult for human tongue." Marcus nodded, trying to process the reality that he was bandaging an actual extraterrestrial being. "Your English is good. Learn from signals. Many years watching." Her voice had a musical quality that seemed to resonate inside his chest. "Why Earth?" he asked, securing the bandage. "Not choice," Talia replied. "Emergency landing. My world dying. Was scout, seeking new home." Marcus helped her to a chair, noticing how she seemed both stronger and more fragile than a human woman of similar size. The scientist in him had 1,000 questions, but the human in him recognized a refugee in need. "You can stay here tonight," he decided. "The observatory is isolated, and I live in the attached residence. No one comes here without my permission." Talia studied his face. "Why help stranger? Dangerous for you." Marcus considered her question. "Why indeed? Professional curiosity? Humanitarian instinct? The lingering emptiness since Angela left?" "Because it's the right thing to do," he finally answered. "And because I've spent my life looking at the stars, wondering if we're alone. Turns out we're not." A small smile formed on Talia's alien features. "Stars connect us all." As dawn approached, Marcus made Talia comfortable in his modest living quarters and watched as she fell into an exhausted sleep. Tomorrow would bring difficult questions and decisions, but tonight, under the same stars she had traveled through, Marcus felt a sense of purpose he'd thought lost forever. The morning sun streamed through the observatory's windows as Marcus prepared a simple breakfast, unsure what his alien guest could safely consume. He'd barely slept, alternating between checking on Talia and researching unexplained phenomena in the area that might relate to her arrival. When he entered the living quarters, he found Talia examining his bookshelf with curious intensity, her slender fingers tracing the spines of astronomy textbooks. "You're up," Marcus said, setting down a tray. "I wasn't sure what you might eat, so I brought options." Talia turned, her movement fluid and graceful. The morning light caught her skin, creating iridescent patterns that shifted as she moved. "Your biology, my biology, not so different," she explained. "My kind adapts. Can process most organic matter." Marcus watched in fascination as she cautiously sampled fruit, bread, and water. Her recovery seemed remarkably swift. The wound that had leaked luminescent fluid last night was already healing, the bandage barely necessary. "Your cellular regeneration is impressive," he noted, his scientific curiosity overwhelming his attempt at casual conversation. Talia tilted her head, those black eyes studying him. "Your concern is appreciated. Long journey. No kindness expected." "Well," Marcus cleared his throat, suddenly uncomfortable under her penetrating gaze, "we should discuss what happens next. People will ask questions if they see you. Others of your kind would take me," Talia stated matter-of-factly. "Study. Dissect. Fear difference." Marcus couldn't argue with her assessment. "Not everyone, but yes, that's a risk. I have a graduate assistant who comes by 3 times a week. The university expects research progress. I can't just disappear without raising suspicions." Talia stood and approached the window, looking out at the forest surrounding the observatory. "Understand human customs from transmissions. Can adapt appearance, behavior. Temporarily." Before Marcus could question her meaning, Talia closed her eyes in concentration. A subtle shift rippled across her skin, the opalescent blue-violet fading to a more human complexion. Her oversized eyes narrowed slightly, and when she opened them again, the endless black had transformed into striking violet irises with white surroundings. Marcus gasped. "How did you?" "Cellular manipulation. Limited time only. Requires energy," she explained, her voice strained. "Can pass as human. Strange, but human." "That's remarkable," Marcus whispered, approaching her cautiously. Up close, she still appeared unusual, ethereally beautiful with features just slightly too perfect for a typical human, but she could potentially pass for someone with unusual fashion choices or foreign ancestry. "We need a cover story," he said, thinking quickly. "My assistant Alex is coming tomorrow. How about, you're a visiting researcher from abroad? Specializing in astrobiology?" A smile flickered across Talia's face. "Appropriate." Over the next few days, Marcus helped Talia refine her human disguise. They created a simple wardrobe from his ex-wife's abandoned clothes, practiced human mannerisms, and developed a backstory for Talia Astron, visiting scholar from Northern Europe. When Alex arrived, the young graduate student was clearly surprised by Talia's presence but accepted the explanation that university administration had arranged the collaboration without much notice. Talia's occasional linguistic oddities were easily attributed to English being her second language. As weeks passed, their arrangement settled into a rhythm. During the day, Talia helped with legitimate astronomical research, her knowledge of celestial mechanics far surpassing Earth's current understanding. At night, she worked on repairing a small communication device salvaged from her crash, using components Marcus discreetly acquired. "Your solar system," Talia explained one evening as they gazed through the telescope, "sits on edge of larger galactic community. Not yet contacted officially. Some observation only." "So we're being watched?" Marcus asked, uncomfortable with the notion. "Studied. Protected. Your species, developing still." She placed her hand briefly on his, her touch sending an unexpected warmth through his arm. "Need time." Marcus found himself increasingly drawn to her, not just as a scientific marvel, but as a companion. The observatory, once his lonely refuge after his divorce, now felt alive with her presence. Talia absorbed Earth culture with remarkable speed, developing preferences for certain music, foods, and books. His caution began to fade until one evening when a black SUV drove slowly past the observatory entrance. It returned the next day, parking briefly before departing without anyone approaching. "Government," Talia whispered, her disguise momentarily flickering with anxiety. "Looking for crash site." "For me." Marcus drew the curtains. "They have no reason to connect you to this place. The observatory is miles from where you landed." But Talia's features had returned to their fully alien form, her stress evidently making the human disguise difficult to maintain. "My people will come," she said, clutching the partially repaired communication device. "If signal reaches them." Marcus watched her work with nimble fingers on the alien technology, realizing with sudden clarity that despite all they had shared, he was nowhere near understanding who, or what, she truly was. And yet, as she looked up and met his gaze with those bottomless black eyes, he knew with equal certainty that he had never felt this connected to anyone before. The black SUVs became a regular presence near the observatory, their surveillance growing less subtle with each passing week. Marcus started taking alternative routes when driving to town for supplies, constantly checking his rearview mirror for followers. "They're getting closer," he told Talia one evening as he returned from the university. "I overheard two men asking questions about unusual activity at the physics department. They didn't look like academics." Talia stood by the window, her alien features exposed in the privacy of their sanctuary. In the month since her arrival, she'd grown more comfortable revealing her true self around Marcus. The luminescence beneath her skin seemed to pulse with her emotions, brightening when she was excited, dimming when concerned. "Communication device almost complete," she said, turning to face him. "Need stronger power source to reach my constellation." Marcus set down his bag of groceries. "I might be able to connect it to the observatory's backup generator, but that's risky. If anyone's monitoring our power usage." Talia moved closer, her movements carrying that otherworldly grace that still captivated him. "Marcus, you have risked much. Perhaps too much." "I don't regret it," he replied honestly. His life before her arrival now seemed colorless, endless nights of staring at distant stars, never imagining he would meet someone who had traveled among them. That night, as they worked together to enhance her communication device, their hands touched frequently over the delicate components. Each contact sent a pleasant current through Marcus's skin, something he'd initially attributed to some biological difference in her species. Now he wasn't so sure. "Your cellular structure," Talia said suddenly, as if reading his thoughts. "It responds to mine." Marcus looked up from the circuit board. "Is that normal?" "Not normal. Rare. Even among my kind." Her black eyes studied him with scientific curiosity mirroring his own. "Biochemical resonance. Unexpected between different species." Before Marcus could process the implications, Talia reached out and placed her palm against his. The sensation intensified, a warm, tingling current flowing between them. More surprising was the flash of images in his mind, swirling nebulae, twin suns rising over crystalline mountains, the sensation of soaring through star-scattered darkness. He pulled back, breathless. Was that memory sharing? Did not intend. Talia's skin glowed brighter, which Marcus had come to recognize as her equivalent of a blush. Happens with strong connection. The moment was interrupted by a fit of coughing from Talia. Marcus watched with alarm as she doubled over, her luminescence flickering erratically. "What's wrong?" he asked, supporting her slender frame. "Earth microorganisms," she managed between coughs. "My immunity adapting, but slowly." Over the next 3 days, Talia's condition deteriorated. Her temperature fluctuated wildly, and the glow beneath her skin dimmed to an alarming dullness. Marcus's knowledge of human medicine was useless, he had no idea how her physiology processed infection or what might help her recover. Desperate, he used the observatory's equipment to analyze samples of her luminescent fluid against human blood. Working through sleepless nights, he identified structures similar to antibodies but configured differently. Using university resources under the guise of astrobiological research, he formulated a potential treatment. "I don't know if this will work," he admitted as he prepared the injection. "It's based on theoretical xenobiology at best." Talia's eyes fluttered open, her once vibrant appearance now pale and muted. "Trust you," she whispered. The hours after the injection were the longest of Marcus's life. He monitored her constantly, watching for any change. When her luminescence began to brighten gradually, he nearly collapsed with relief. By morning, Talia had regained consciousness, her recovery proceeding with the same remarkable speed he'd witnessed with her initial injury. She found Marcus asleep in a chair beside her, his hand still holding the monitoring equipment. "Marcus," she called softly, waking him. He jolted upright. "You're better. How do you feel?" "Stronger," she said, her voice regaining its musical quality. "You saved me." "I couldn't lose you," he admitted, the words escaping before he could filter them. Talia reached for his hand, initiating the connection that now felt familiar. This time, the shared sensations were gentler, warmth spreading through his chest, a feeling of security he hadn't experienced since childhood. "My people have word for this," she said. Closest translation, soul resonance. Marcus moved to sit beside her on the bed. "On Earth, we might call it something else." "What word?" she asked, her large eyes searching his. "Love," he answered simply. "Though that seems inadequate for whatever this is between us." Talia's free hand traced the contours of his face with gentle curiosity. Different worlds. Same feeling. When their lips met, the connection intensified beyond anything Marcus had experienced. Images, emotions, and sensations flowed between them, her memories becoming his becoming hers. Their vastly different biologies found unexpected harmony, the boundaries between human and alien temporarily dissolved in an intimacy transcending physical form. Later, as they lay intertwined, the communication device on the nearby table suddenly emitted a series of pulsing tones. Talia sat up, her luminescence brightening with excitement. "They heard," she whispered. "My people received signal." Marcus felt a conflicted surge of emotion, joy at her success mingled with the sudden, cold realization that her rescue might mean her departure. "How soon?" he asked, trying to keep his voice neutral. 3 Earth rotations, Talia replied, turning to face him. The look in her otherworldly eyes mirrored his own internal struggle. "Then decision time comes." Outside, the headlights of another SUV swept across the observatory windows, a stark reminder of the danger still surrounding them, even as the stars seemed to offer escape. The news of the impending arrival of Talia's people changed everything. Marcus spent the next morning gathering essential supplies, food, water, medical equipment, and anything that might help repair her communication device if needed. Their plan was simple but dangerous: remain at the observatory until the night before the rescue, then relocate to the designated meeting coordinates in the remote mountains. "We should leave now," Marcus insisted as he packed a duffel bag. "Those government vehicles are watching us. They could move in at any moment." Talia stood by the telescope, her form shifting between human disguise and her natural state as she conserved energy. "Signal coordinate set. Cannot change. Must be at exact location in 2 rotations." Before Marcus could argue further, the shrill sound of tires on gravel cut through the air. Through the window, he spotted 3 black SUVs racing up the observatory's winding driveway. "They're here," he said, pulse quickening. "We need to go. Now." Talia's eyes widened as she grabbed the communication device and essential components. Marcus led her to the observatory's rarely used emergency exit, a maintenance door that opened onto the forested hillside behind the building. My research, he hesitated, glancing back at his life's work. No time, Talia urged, her voice tight with fear. They slipped into the dense forest just as the sound of car doors slamming echoed behind them. Marcus guided them down a steep deer trail he'd discovered during his solitary walks. The thick canopy of trees provided cover as they descended toward a service road where he'd parked his old Jeep as a precaution days earlier. How did they find us? Marcus wondered aloud as they reached the vehicle. Power surge, Talia explained between labored breaths. When device connected to your generator. Energy signature unusual. They drove in tense silence, taking back roads and forest service paths. Marcus's knowledge of the area's astronomy sites, potential observation points he'd scouted over the years, now served a different purpose, providing them with remote locations to hide. By nightfall, they had reached an abandoned fire lookout tower deep in the national forest. As Marcus secured the perimeter, Talia worked to recalibrate her device after the hasty evacuation. Signal weaker now, she said, frustration evident in her voice. Need height. Clear transmission. The tower should help, Marcus replied, setting up a small camping stove to prepare food. It's the highest point for miles. As night deepened, they sat side by side on the tower's observation platform, the vast expanse of stars spread above them like a map of possibilities. Talia pointed out configurations invisible to human eyes, describing her home system with a mixture of longing and detachment. Your world, Marcus asked carefully, what is it like? Talia's luminescence pulsed with memory. Beautiful. Different. Crystalline cities. Twin suns. 3 moons. She paused. Dying now. Resources depleted. My mission, find habitable worlds. And did you? Before crashing here? She turned to him, her alien features softening. Found 7 potential worlds. None with something unexpected. What's that? You, she answered simply. The word hung between them, heavy with implication. Marcus reached for her hand, initiating the connection that had become as necessary as breathing. This time, Talia allowed him deeper into her consciousness than ever before, revealing more of her true nature. In the mental landscape they shared, Marcus saw her as she truly was, not just the humanoid form she presented, but a being of complex energy patterns and perceptions beyond human senses. Her species experienced reality through layers humans couldn't perceive, feeling the gravitational pulls of distant stars, sensing the electromagnetic currents of the planet itself. When the connection ended, Marcus gazed at her with new understanding. You've been simplifying yourself. For me. Talia nodded. Human senses limited. Would overwhelm you otherwise. Show me, he whispered. Even if it's too much. I want to know you. All of you. Hesitantly, Talia placed both hands on his face. The connection that followed was unlike anything before, a symphony of sensations cascading through his consciousness. His perception expanded beyond the physical world, briefly experiencing reality through her alien senses. The universe revealed itself in dimensions he had never imagined, beautiful and terrifying in its complexity. When his awareness returned to the tower, Marcus found himself trembling, tears streaming down his face. Talia watched him with concern. Too much, she asked softly. Perfect, he managed to say. Perfect and impossible. Their bodies came together with new awareness, human and alien physiologies finding unexpected harmony. The boundaries between them blurred in ways that transcended physical intimacy, their connection resonating on cellular and energetic levels. What might have seemed incompatible became a dance of adaptation and discovery, each moment revealing new possibilities. Dawn found them entwined, the communication device pulsing steadily beside them. Their moment of peace shattered when the distant sound of helicopter rotors echoed through the mountains. They're still tracking us, Marcus realized, quickly gathering their belongings. They descended the tower and returned to the jeep, driving deeper into the wilderness toward the coordinates Talia had specified. The helicopter's distant presence remained constant, sweeping the forest in widening circles. "One more night," Talia said, checking the device. "Then rendezvous." As they navigated increasingly rough terrain, Marcus confronted the question he'd been avoiding: "When your people come, can I go with you?" Talia's luminescence flickered with emotion. "Possible. Dangerous for humans. Different atmosphere, gravity, radiation. But not impossible." "Not impossible," she conceded. "Few humans have compatible biology. You might." The implication hung between them as they pushed onward, the jeep struggling up steep inclines until the path became impassable. They continued on foot, hiking through dense forest toward a high mountain meadow, the perfect landing site for whatever craft would come for Talia. Night was falling when they reached the edge of the meadow. As they prepared a small, concealed camp, the sound of vehicles in the distance confirmed their fears. The government agents had narrowed their search perimeter. "They'll find us by morning," Marcus said, looking at the open meadow that offered no hiding places. "And your people won't arrive until tomorrow night." Talia's eyes reflected the stars above, her decision forming. "Must separate. You distract. I hide." "No," Marcus protested. "I won't leave you." "Only chance," she insisted, her form shifting fully to her alien appearance in the safety of darkness. "Tomorrow night, return here. Together again among stars." As searchlights began to sweep the forest below them, they held each other one last time, their connection conveying what words couldn't express: fear, hope, and a love that defied the boundaries of worlds. Dawn broke cold and clear over the mountain meadow. Marcus had spent the night moving in wide circles away from Talia's hiding place, leaving deliberate traces for their pursuers to follow. His academic backpack, containing star charts and observatory notes, had been strategically abandoned by a stream 2 miles south, a convincing decoy that had drawn the search teams away from the meadow. Now, concealed in a hunting blind he discovered on the mountain's eastern slope, he watched through binoculars as black-clad figures combed the forest below. Their methodical movements suggested military training rather than typical government agents. These weren't curious scientists, they were hunters equipped to capture and contain an extraterrestrial being. Marcus checked his watch. 14 more hours until Talia's people were scheduled to arrive. 14 hours to somehow evade an increasingly sophisticated manhunt and return to the meadow undetected. His thoughts drifted to Talia, hidden in a cave system they discovered just before separating. Her weakened state had concerned him, maintaining her human disguise during their escape had depleted her energy reserves, and the Earth pathogens still challenged her adapted immunity. But her determination had never wavered. "Return to stars," she had whispered before they parted. "Together or apart." As afternoon approached, Marcus began his careful journey back toward the meadow, using every trick he knew about wilderness survival to move unseen. Years of solitary hiking and stargazing expeditions had made him familiar with moving quietly through difficult terrain. Still, twice he nearly stumbled into search parties, freezing in place until they passed. The sun was setting when he finally reached the edge of the meadow. No sign of Talia yet, but her instructions had been clear: wait until full darkness, then meet at the meadow's center. The night sky was already magnificent, stars emerging in the darkening blue. Somewhere up there, her people were approaching, perhaps already in Earth's atmosphere, cloaked from human detection. As darkness fell completely, Marcus made his final approach. The meadow grass swayed gently in the mountain breeze, and the Milky Way arched overhead in breathtaking clarity. Then he saw her, a faint blue glow moving toward the center of the open space. Even at a distance, the sight of her true form moving gracefully through the tall grass made his heart race. "Talia," he called softly when they were mere yards apart. She turned, her luminescence brightening with recognition. In the starlight, she had abandoned any pretense of human appearance. Her true form was even more ethereal than he remembered, the patterns beneath her translucent skin pulsing with complex rhythms, her eyes reflecting the cosmos itself. "Marcus," she replied, her voice carrying that musical quality he had grown to love. "You came. I promised I would." He embraced her, feeling the now familiar energy current flow between them. "Any sign of your people?" She held up the communication device, its lights blinking in complex patterns. "Soon. Very soon." Her expression became troubled. "But hunters close too. Detected movement in forest." Marcus scanned the tree line. "How much time do we need?" 10 Earth minutes for approach. 2 for boarding." She gazed upward. "Decision time, Marcus. Leave your world forever?" The question hung between them, more complex than it had seemed during their intimate moments in hiding. Marcus thought of his life on Earth, his research, his few friends, a planet that for all its flaws was his home. Then he looked at Talia, a being who had crossed the stars and changed everything he thought he knew about existence. "I've made my decision," he began, but was interrupted by a shout from the forest's edge. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness, accompanied by the unmistakable sound of weapons being readied. "We have visual confirmation," a voice called through a radio. 2 subjects in the clearing." Talia's luminescence fluctuated with alarm. "Ship approaching. Cannot delay." She pointed to a spot in the sky where what had appeared to be a star was growing brighter, descending with impossible speed. Marcus made a split-second decision. "Run to the center," he instructed. "I'll buy you time." "No." Talia protested, gripping his arm. "Together. Trust me," he insisted, gently removing her hand. "I'll be right behind you." As Talia reluctantly moved toward the meadow's center, Marcus turned and ran directly toward the approaching agents, waving his arms. "Over here," he shouted. "I'm Dr. Marcus Novak. I need to speak with whoever's in charge." The distraction worked. The agents converged on him, momentarily focusing their attention away from the glowing figure in the meadow's center. Above, the descending light had resolved into a sleek, silent craft, its design unlike anything human technology could produce. "Listen to me," Marcus told the lead agent as they restrained him. "What's happening here is first contact. You need to stand down." "Secure the subject," the agent ordered, ignoring his words. "Second team, capture the non-human entity." Before the second team could move, the meadow erupted with light. The alien craft had descended to hover 20 feet above the ground, casting a brilliant blue-white illumination that momentarily blinded everyone present. In the confusion, Marcus broke free from his captors and sprinted toward Talia. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. A beam of energy extended from the craft toward Talia. The agents recovered their vision and raised their weapons. Marcus reached Talia just as she was beginning to ascend in the beam, their hands meeting in one final connection. In that moment of contact, their consciousness merged one last time, a cascade of memories, emotions, and unspoken promises flowing between them. Marcus saw visions of worlds he would never visit, felt the vastness of a universe awaiting exploration, and understood with perfect clarity what he had to do. "Go," he whispered, releasing her hand as agents surrounded him. "Find me again someday." Talia's form rose higher in the beam, her luminescence brighter than he had ever seen it. "Promise," her voice echoed in his mind rather than his ears. "Stars remember. We will meet again." The agents attempted to interrupt the beam with their weapons, but some invisible barrier deflected their efforts. Marcus watched, surrounded by frustrated government personnel, as Talia ascended into the craft. Their eyes locked one final time before the ship's hatch sealed. In an instant, the craft accelerated upward, becoming indistinguishable from the stars above before the agents could even radio for air support. The meadow fell silent except for the confused chatter of the search teams. "Sir, what exactly did we just witness?" a younger agent asked the team leader. The man stared at the sky, then at Marcus. "Nothing that ever happened. This entire operation is classified." He turned to Marcus. "Dr. Novak, you'll be coming with us for debriefing." Marcus nodded, offering no resistance as they led him toward their vehicles. He knew there would be endless questions, possibly detention, certainly the end of his academic career. Yet as he took one last look at the night sky, a profound peace settled over him. Somewhere beyond those distant points of light, Talia was carrying part of him with her, memories, emotions, the unique resonance they had shared. And he carried something of her too, not just in his memories but in his changed perception of the universe. As the government convoy wound down the mountain, Marcus watched the stars through the vehicle window. One particular star seemed to pulse with a familiar blue luminescence before disappearing into the vastness of space. Not an ending, he realized, but a beginning. Their connection transcended physical proximity, a bond written in stardust, resonating across the cosmos. Someday, he thought with certainty. Someday we will find each other again. And somewhere among the endless stars, Talia's consciousness reached back toward Earth with the same promise, a beacon that would guide them back together when the time was right.